Some very poor wording on Tesla's part has basically told us all how long we have to wait before seeing the Project Juniper Model Y refresh. Despite what Elon may say, I think it's worth talking about because a lot of people have been saving for years for their EV, and they want to know if it's worth buying now or waiting till later. And yes, technically Teslas are always getting better and they're always improving. You can always wait for a better one around the corner, but occasionally there are those fairly massive big refreshes, right? And a lot of people want to be kept in the loop whenever there's going to be a big one, like the most recent Highland Model 3 refresh. And it's only natural, it's inevitable, of course, that all of these great features they added to the Model 3, the rear-mounted display, the ambient lighting, the ventilated seats, the upgraded steering wheel, the upgraded sound system, the updated headlight and taillight design, of course, all of these things are eventually going to find their way over to the Model Y. I don't understand why that's, to some people, some great outlandish theory. The Model 3 and Y are practically, at least on the surface, the same car. One's just a little taller and has a hatchback. Underneath the surface, of course, there was a lot of different engineering challenges and differences, but product-wise, there were so many people saying, when is the Model Y refresh happening, that Tesla officially issued a very PR-esque statement that essentially said, the Model Y refresh is not happening this year. And they were even saying that recently, basically telling us that yes, the 2025 Model Y refresh is coming, and we've already seen the writing on the wall. Someone has seen a covered up Model Y that had the exact same coverings on the front and back that we originally saw on the Model 3 before the Highland refresh, which to me is an indication that if this refresh happens the same way the Highland refresh happens, that means that it could launch in Giga Shanghai first, so countries that receive vehicles from China would get the refresh before Americans do, and that could happen near the end of 2024, and then within the first couple quarters of 2025, I would likely expect Tesla to start slowly refreshing the Model Y in the US. The trickier part, though, is that we've got two separate factories building Model Ys simultaneously, which means that maybe Tesla will start with the performance variant, and that will have all of those fancy luxury features like the ambient lighting, the ventilated seats, the updated design, and maybe for a while they'll just build the performance Model Y refresh at either Texas or Fremont. Could really go either way, honestly, and then after a while, then they'll offer the all-wheel drive long-range Model Y with all of those upgraded features, but they won't give it to the single motor Model Y until they're officially ready to switch over both the factories, and then eventually I do think these will become standard features on the Model Y, just like they're standard features now for the Model 3. But the tricky elephant in the room that Tesla kind of keeps unintentionally attracting a lot of attention to with these earnings calls is the fact that they're doubling down on them offering more affordable vehicle models within the first half of 2025. I'm not sure if they're referring to the Model Y refresh as a new vehicle model, but they keep doubling down that more affordable options are coming, and anytime someone on these earnings calls asks, like, what exactly are these? Are these new variants of the Model 3 and Y? Are these entirely new models that we haven't seen before? Anytime that question gets asked, in fact, on the last earnings call, Elon straight up said, we have to avoid the Osborne effect here, which for those who don't know, refers to an old computer called the Osborne, which was pretty good, but a lot of people were complaining about the current state of the computer, and the company Osborne said that the next generation will be so much better that everybody ended up waiting for that next generation model, killing the sales of the present day model, and that resulted in the whole company going bankrupt. So essentially Elon's trying to say we can't say too much about these more affordable models because there's a good chance they're going to eat into present day sales. Now I could interpret that both ways. I don't think that necessarily guarantees that Tesla's working on a $25,000 car that we're going to see next year. I doubt that myself. I hope I'm wrong though. It would be really cool if Tesla had a trick up their sleeve, but they're claiming they don't need new gigafactories. Using their existing assembly lines, they'll be able to build more affordable models using more traditional manufacturing techniques that should increase the addressable market for their products, and that to me is an indication that these next generation vehicles are probably going to have to look a little similar to the existing Model 3s and Ys. That makes me wonder if Tesla has plans on kind of unrefreshing the Model 3 in a way, like taking out the ventilated seats, taking out the ambient lighting, maybe taking out some of the fancier sound systems or glass, and maybe we're going to get a Model 3 that strips out some of its more premium features for a more affordable price next year, and that's what they're hyping up. Or perhaps Tesla's going to refresh the Model Y with all of those premium features we talked about, but keep around the kind of traditional Model Y that we already see on the road, but just at much, much lower prices, and there's just another step step change in regards to affordability that we're not anticipating. Maybe Tesla's going to be comfortable with razor-thin margins if they themselves believe that robotaxis are around the corner. So for them, all that matters is getting as many autonomous driving vehicles on the road as possible. It doesn't matter if they're profitable at the point of sale. They plan on making the money back when those vehicles get opted into the robotaxi network. The only possible scenario in which I could see Tesla actually having like a $25,000 model ready to go in the first half of 2025 is that they like unveil the robotaxi on October 10th later this year, and that design, which is super small, super efficient, and probably doesn't even have that many seats, is actually just ready to go in some limited format at Giga Texas, and they can easily add a steering wheel and pedals to it. That way it's not dependent on regulatory approval for robotaxi rollout. But in order to make it as close as possible to the official robotaxi model, it's still going to be steer-by-wire, and it may not have the fanciest seats or the most storage capacity or the fastest powertrain. Its main approach from all angles, whether it be the exterior, the interior, it's just going to be around cost-cutting measures, and they maybe have like a two-seater option that is much smaller than a Model 3, but much more efficient and therefore more affordable, and then they're not worried about a $25,000 Tesla cannibalizing the sales of the Model 3. And why? Because, again, it's a two-seater. It's not going to be crazy fast. It's not going to be the most practical vehicle in the world. It's mainly just meant to get you and one other person from point A to point B in the most efficient aerodynamic way possible, which I'm excited for because I honestly think that's kind of more of what the EV industry needs. Smaller vehicles that are more energy efficient and more affordable to the masses. So I really hope that ends up being the case. That would kind of be my dream scenario for Tesla offering a more affordable model next year. But in my opinion, what is the more practical scenario that would be the easiest for Tesla to do is just take out a few premium features from the existing Model 3 and Y lines. The Model 3 lines have probably taken a hit on margins simply because they've added a lot of premium features to it already. So if they kind of go backwards into making another traditional Model 3 that doesn't have ventilated seats, that doesn't have a rear mounted display, doesn't have ambient lighting, and they can get that model after the tax credit down to like $30,000 or $28,000, something like that. That would be my personal prediction as to what they have in store. Maybe throw in a hatchback to the Model 3 to make it a little bit more appealing even at that lower price. But what do you guys think Tesla has in store for the first half of next year when they say there's going to be more affordable models available? How does that tie into the inevitable Model Y refresh? All your thoughts, drop those down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.